Hi, good morning. My name is Emberly Valgardson, Superintendent for Nordic PCL Construction in Hawaii. I've been with Nordic PCL for about 10 years and started out as a field engineer in the field, working my way up and made superintendent in about 5 years. So I worked really hard in those first few years to get to that point. That once I made superintendent, I really started to feel some of the pressures of the job, but then it got really exciting for me as well. Some of the things that really contributed to my success in uh, getting to this point was I was brought up in construction. So my father is a general contractor, and I grew up in the summers and on the weekends working with him. And so I learned a lot about the industry by doing that. Um, After a few years of doing that, and as I got into high school, I started doing drawings for him and his plans, and really got interested in architecture. And for a while there, as I started my college education, I was studying architecture and wanted to become an architect. I worked for an architect for about 5 or 6 years, and then eventually decided that that wasn't for me because I wasn't meant to sit in an office all day long behind a computer. I like to be out in the field, part of actually putting the building together, figuring out how we're going to do it, what's needed, what it takes. Um, but that 5 or 6 year stint that I had working for an architect really helped me excel in my career. I learned the other side of the business, if you will. I learned what it took to design buildings, and all of the coordination that happens prior to us taking it over and building it. So it helped me as I was coming up in my career to work with and talk to the architects and the design consultants, because I was one at one point. So I kind of spoke the language, if you will. It helped me to, as we came across problems, to easier come to conclusions or to solutions to the problems a lot quicker, because I had the architectural background, and I kind of understand or had a brief understanding of codes and requirements that they required. Um, as I Because I had that strong background in architecture, when I became a superintendent, my strengths weren't really in the field. I never did really swing hammer, if you will. I never, other than as I was a young girl growing up with my dad, I'd help him, but I never did really work in the field. And so I, knowing that that was my weakness, I just leaned on those around me who that was their strength, and I learned a lot from them just by watching or asking the questions. Um, Never was afraid to ask a question. There's no dumb question. It's better to ask and to um, maybe feel dumb or look dumb, but it's better to ask than to not ask. So I learned a lot by just watching and asking questions, and really helped me to succeed, by leaning on others and their strengths, rather than trying to do it all myself, if you will. So um, it's it's definitely has its challenges, though. I mean, there's no hiding that this is a tough career and tough business to be in, but finding your niche and finding what works best for you, what makes you feel fulfilled at the end of the day, is what's important, um, and making sure that you're contributing to that is also important. So um, I love what I do. I don't know that I'd want it any other way. It's I there are days that I of course wake up and dread coming to work, but most of the time I'm excited and wanting to be here and ready to accept whatever challenge it is that comes up next. And there's always a solution to it. That's the nice thing about it, is you're never going to hit a dead end and say, oh, I just can't do it. There's always a way out of it. So um, more than anything, I think what helped contribute to to me and the successes that I have is understanding my strengths and also understanding my weaknesses and reaching out to others to fill in where my weaknesses were, and then highlighting my strengths, and more importantly, being a good team member, team player, and trying to play well with others, if you will, in the sandbox. So, yep, that's me.